Hey everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Might I Add, our UCF sports talk show. Today, we'll be talking about the UCF football team's slim victory in New Orleans, how the volleyball team fared in the conference tournament, and preview the upcoming men's basketball schedule. And joining me today to help us figure this all out is our very own Jasmine Haynes. Jasmine, how's it going?
Not bad. I'm ready to talk some sports with you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So we're going to start today off with the football team's game against Tulane on Saturday. UCF went into New Orleans and took the 34-31 dub, but I'll tell you it wasn't easy. Special teams nearly threw the game away, with the Knights giving up 17 points, with the Knights up 17 points late in the game, There were several miscues in the third phase of the game that allowed Tulane to get back into this one, and it came down to an onside kick that was nearly recovered by Tulane. Jasmine, let's start with the obvious question here. What went wrong with special teams?
Well, they definitely have a lot of work that they need to be doing. They gave up a kick return for a touchdown, I believe, and they're just having all kinds of issues like this season. So I know that they got to really step up their game. They got to do more in practice and, be the special teams that I know that we've been seeing these past 2 seasons.
Yeah, and it has been kind of an off season for them. They call themselves UCF Fly, but it hasn't been so fly this season so far. Now we'll move on to the next part of this segment on football, Dillon Gabriel. He's always a big topic, and he threw for a quiet 317 yards in this one and a touchdown. But what's almost more important to know is that backup quarterback Darryl Mack Jr. played in more clutch moments in this game than any other game this season. Mack threw the ball just one time, but it was for a 4th down touchdown strike to Anthony Roberson. Mack also scored a rushing touchdown in the game to really score twice, which is more than Dillon Gabriel could say on the day. So, Jasmine, what really is Mack's role with this team moving forward?
I'm not sure. He seems like he's a red zone player right now, but they're not using Mack to his full potential. He came back, he saved us when Milton got his leg hurt. Why aren't we playing him more? He's cleared, he's ready to play. I think coach really needs to take a look, and Darryl Mack needs to be able to show his ability and be able to show that he can play with us, that we need him to play some more minutes.
And I agree. He was very good when he played last season against Memphis. He was solid against LSU, and he's been solid whenever he's played this season. So there's a lot of potential there, and we're excited to see what happens with Darryl Mack as the season goes and finishes this coming week. So UCF is going to have one more chance to take the field at home this season, and it's against the USF Bulls in the classic War on I-4 rivalry. However, this game isn't as meaningful as it's been in the past, with UCF unable to win the AAC East and USF unable to reach a bowl game. So it's still a rivalry game, so there's obviously still something in this for the players. But Jasmine, I'm curious, what exactly is at stake for the players in this one?
Honestly, I think it's mainly bragging rights. Now we're not UCF, the undefeated team, but we're still, the NCAA national champions, and we still have to defend that title, and to prove that we could still play with the big dogs. I mean, granted, it's USF, but still, they're our rivalry school. We need to be able to really boost up our confidence a little bit more and put a little more faith back into our UCF fans.
I agree. It's been kind of interesting to see the UCF fan base be disappointed with a 9-3 record. So this is a big one to go into the postseason, getting one more win, gain some momentum. So now let's talk a little bit about USF. They've seemed to plateau under Charlie Strong's head coaching campaign with the Bulls, and each one of their past 3 seasons has been less successful than the previous one. So the Bulls have lost their last 3 games to miss out on a bowl game, which is not good for that program. And the team struggled on defense the entire season, giving up 28 points per game. So Jasmine, how is UCF going to be able to exploit this defense from USF?
Speed and size. We've got a much bigger team. We've got a much faster team. So we definitely have to use that to our advantage. And I don't think USF is going to be able to keep up with us.
And I agree. Speed is the dynamic of this team. That's what we're about. UCF fast, and it's going to be really key to see these receivers get in the open space against USF defense. So onward from football, we'll talk about a different team that's been really successful this semester, and that's been the UCF volleyball team. The Knights entered the conference tournament as the number 3 seed due to the standings in the American East Division, and they ended up winning the tournament and to earn the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament coming up in a couple weeks. Now, before they could get their chance for revenge against Cincinnati in the championship, they needed to go through Tulsa and SMU, and the Knights dominated those 2 teams. They only lost 1 set between the 2 matches. So, Jasmine, how was UCF able to be so dominant?
I think McKenna, she has a lot to do with how their team is playing right now. She had 27 kills in the Cincinnati game. That's ridiculous. That's close to half of their kills. So she's definitely been carrying the team a lot. And, overall, they're just playing really well together.
And they are playing really well. We've seen this in the past season, past the back end of the season. They've really started to gel, and they look like a dynamic team that's capable of doing some damage. And the Knights did end up getting the finals. They did get to play Cincinnati, and the Bearcats gave UCF their only 2 losses this season in conference play. So revenge was a big factor, and this time UCF got it. They got their revenge, and they won the game in 5 sets, earning that conference title. UCF handled business at the net against Cincinnati, out-blocking them 16-2. So, Jasmine, where was this success the past 2 matches against Cincinnati?
Again, I have to say McKenna's really been on top of her game. To have her have I said, half the kills, and she really helps keep her team afloat. And it's always hard playing a team more than once because it's easier to plan against them. But UCF really used their advantage as far as that goes. They really. They knew what they were doing out there.
Oh, absolutely. They use their skills. They use their skill players to their advantages, and each player in their individual roles to make a successful offensive unit as a whole. And there's still a whole lot to play for the volleyball team with the NCAA tournament coming up. UCF is looking to avenge their opening round loss last season with a successful postseason run this year. And Jasmine, what kind of run is UCF capable of making in the NCAA tournament?
Right now, they have a good momentum going for them. They're on a constant winning streak. I think they've only lost 2 of their last few games, and they need to be a little bit better on the road. Though they're going to be playing better opponents, and they really need to be prepared for the teams that are out there and that they're coming for UCF. Especially if we're on a good winning streak.
Yeah, and it's going to be really key to be able to play on the road because UCF likely going to Gainesville to play in that regional in the opening round of the tournament. Knights fans, it's November, and you know what that means? Sports crossover season. Football, volleyball, soccer, they're all coming to a close. But that means the beginning of UCF basketball, which I know a lot of people are excited about. Now, the men's basketball teams had a lot of expectations to live up to after this past season when they nearly upset Duke in March Madness. But there's a lot of new faces on this roster, and it's been anything but smooth sailing for the start of this season. Despite the 3-1 record, UCF's wins have been over Prairie View A&M by 4, Illinois State by 2, and Charleston by 1. So Jasmine, what does UCF need to do to be able to get this chemistry going?
It's the lineup. Consistency is key, and if we keep switching who's playing with who, you're never going to build up that chemistry together. It's always hard when you have to play with 3 different new guys on your team. So I think they really need to find a set lineup, and they need to be able to just play the same 5 people with rotation.
And I agree completely with what you're saying. Chemistry and consistency is everything. And a huge part of the offensive struggles this season has to be attributed to Matt Milon. And Milon was labeled as a 3-point weapon coming into the season, but has totaled just 9 points in 4 games. No consistency from him whatsoever. So, Jasmine, where are these struggles coming from?
Well, honestly, he's just not shooting great. He's only 13% from the floor and from the 3, whereas he only averages about 2 points a game. Whereas before he transferred, he was shooting about 40%. So I don't see what the issue is where he's struggling now. Maybe it's because it's a new team. Maybe it is the inconsistency. But he really needs to step up and start shooting more. Just take the shots, man.
I agree. It's a lot of times players get in their own heads when things don't go well, and maybe he's in his own head. I'm not sure what exactly the situation is, but he'll, like you said, just keep shooting, and eventually he'll find a shot. Now, another player to keep an eye on is Colin Smith. He's been a beast under the rim so far this season for UCF and is easily the most consistent scorer for the Knights. And Jasmine, I'm curious to hear this, but what role do you see Colin Smith having?
He's a leader. I can definitely see him going further into the season because I believe he's only a sophomore right now. Seems like he's got years under his belt. He averages 15 points a game, and he is the kind of confidence that UCF men's basketball team really needs right now. As far as consistency, he's one of their most consistent players that has been going out there, and I think he's really going to lead the team into victory.
Yeah, Colin Smith's leadership is going to be really huge, especially after losing Taco Fall, Aubrey Dawkins, BJ Taylor, losing that kind of crew. It's really critical for Colin Smith to step up. And all that being said, the Knights still have a solid record, but they're about to be tested this upcoming week. UCF is going to travel to Anaheim, California to play in the Wooden Legacy Tournament. Their first matchup is against Penn on Thanksgiving. And Penn has been an up-and-down team this season so far, coming in with a record of 3-2, but they do have a really nice win over Providence. Penn brings in a dynamic duo on offense with A.J. Broder and Jordan Dingle scoring 18 and 17 points per game, respectively. So, Jasmine, what is UCF going to have to do to be able to slow those two down?
They just need to get their chemistry up. That's all it's really about. And they have, about 4 players averaging double digits for their team, and they score on average like 75 points a game. So UCF just really has to gear up on defense. We need to play better as a team, and we need to talk more, And I think that's really what's going to determine whether or not we win this game.
Absolutely, and it's really interesting to see the team is so different from last season with defensive strategies. But we'll get on to another strength of Penn, and that's that they average nearly 10 offensive rebounds per game. So, Jasmine, who's going to be the key for UCF in rebounding in this game against Penn?
Again, I'm going to say Colin Smith, Avery Diggs, and Brandon Mahan. They need to all come together and help with rebounds. There are big men. There's some of our more consistent players out there. So I think those 3 are really going to be the deciding factors on if we can out-rebound Penn.
Yep, team effort is critical for UCF, and that's no different in this coming matchup. So after their game against Penn, UCF is going to face off against the winner of either Pepperdine or Arizona. And the rest of the field in this tournament hosts teams like Providence, Wake Forest, even Charleston. So Jasmine, how's UCF going to fare in this tournament?
It's going to be tough. Arizona's a top 15 team, but they really need to just take it one game at a time. Don't look too far ahead like we're going to play Arizona. They really need to just look at Penn's team and see what they have to do in order to beat them, then focus on Arizona. That's what the big thing is not looking forward.
Absolutely. Looking forward is often a very difficult way and very easy way to lose traction in your season. All right, Knights fans, let's get into what's happening this week in UCF sports. The UCF football team is going to close the season out at home against USF in the War on I-4 on Friday at 8 p.m. The men's soccer team is going to play at SMU on Saturday in the NCAA tournament round of 16. The women's basketball team hosts Stetson on Wednesday before traveling all the way out to Virginia for the Cavalier Classic, where they'll play UCLA on Saturday and James Madison on Sunday. And finally, the men's basketball team will open the Wooden Legacy tournament against Penn on Thursday, and we'll have the 2 following matches still TBD on Friday and Sunday. Well, Jasmine, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate your takes, and it's been really fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad I could be here today.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone watching from home. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube page, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Hitting the Field. I'm Kyle Partain. She's Jasmine Haynes, and we'll catch you next week on Might I Add.